Yes.
It controls our emotions and our
Yes. Where it's okay.
and the memories we
1%.
okay.
Okay. Okay. So limbic system. Yesterday we did the first two. Stop talking. All here. Look here. Limbic system are a part of the limbic system is a part of which brain part? Cerebrum. Cerebrum, right? The first part, which is the largest part, so limbic system is part. It is the next part. When if you divide the cerebrum, so limbic system is one of its part. The limbic system is related to what? Limbic system is related to the emotion, behavior, and memory, right? All have been linked to many structures that make up the limbic system. Limbic system is not like just, for example, one like we have thalamus, right? It is, you can say, a few structure combined and it make the limbic system, right? If you are going to define the system, so it will be made from a few structures of organ, you can say, right? So the same it will be there in the limbic system, but it will be small. For example, a region deep within the brain called amygdala has been associated with the emotional learning include fear, anxiety, as well as the formation of long-term memory, right? So the limbic system will be associated with what? It will be associated with the emotions, behaviors. Beside this, anxiety, fear, and long-term memory, right? Long-term memory, like for example, the lesson you are learning now, right? Up to how much time you can learn it? Huh? Listen, you learn now, right? Up to how much time it can? If you learn it, not memorize it, right? So it will be for long. Another example is regarding to the body system we are talking. Long-term memory. Long-term memory, we are talking about the body system. Like for example, we are taking vaccine against the virus, right? So this vaccine is what? This is actually a memory, right? That our body system is getting against that virus. So when our body system get vaccine, so it is a memory, right? The body cell get that memory and it tag it, right? It save it. So this is forever. This save forever. So anytime in the life, if the same virus for which you get the vaccine, right? If the same virus for which you get the vaccine, it enter your body. So your body has that memory, right? So it can recall it and it can fight against that disease. So it will be stored. Long-term memory can be stored where? In the limbic system. The limbic system is also associated with the brain player center, a region that produces feeling, satisfaction, and well-being. Like for example, uh, to pleasure center, right? So if you're not feeling well, right, you go to the doctor, right? So when you get medicine, so after some time, 2 hours, 3 hours, you get medicine feel body. That is what that is also associated with what the feeling system is also associated with the or satisfaction system of the human body is also associated with the limbic system.
This time in this part, red or in the left part, you just have the memory.
Memory you
have
have
the time. When you forget, always forget. The
disease will come in the last. Disease may happen in the last, right? Disease.
Asking if it's in the same area.
No, it will be defect in the same area. Defect, right? Like for example, you have limbic system, right? So limbic system is responsible for long-term memory, not for short-term, right? Or we can say, don't say limbic system. Just say cerebrum is responsible for long-term memory. So if there is defect in the cerebrum, right? If that part which is related to the long-term memory, so if there is defect, if the neurons are not working, right? Signal are not proper, there is no proper blood flow. So mean that this place is not working. So if it is not working, so mean the disease which is against it, it will be caused.
Okay, so sometimes they give the person some bills that he will forget what is in his memory. Yes, what type of bills are where it's fit?
So the same, which part of the neurons are for memory? Which part is which part is responsible for the memory? Limbic system, or we can say cerebrum, right? So mean it's a defect in the cerebrum or in the limbic system, right? Now, if you go to the dead disease, so this is just. But just keep in mind that the part of the brain which is responsible for dead function, concern like for the memory, right? For feelings, for emotions. Some people are there which cannot feel the test, right? Which cannot feel the test. Why they cannot feel the test? Because the neurons which is present in their brain responsible for the sense of test, so it is not working, right? It is not working. So if it is not working, so they cannot feel the test. That is the reason, right? So the concern part. Now we have thalamus and hypothalamus. Actually, these are what? Right? Thalamus and hypothalamus. The part of cerebrum, the lower part of the cerebrum, right? The thalamus and hypothalamus are found between the brain and the stem, between the brainstem and the cerebrum. So where the brainstem start and where the cerebrum ends. So it will be finished. It will be found in the junction between the cerebrum and the brainstem. The thalamus receives messages from sensory receptors throughout the body, from all the body. Thalamus is a part which will receive signal or messages throughout the body. The sensor, right? Like for example, I'm talking, so your ear is receiving. So this signal from your ear, it will go to the thalamus, right? If you touch any surface, this signal is going to, with the help of the sensory nerves, to the thalamus, right? Like you are looking to something, right? So you're sensing something. This sense will go to the thalamus directly, and then relay the information to the proper region of the cerebrum for further processing. Now, if these messages are received, like for example, you touch any hard surface, right? You listen to anything, right? So now this message is received by the thalamus, but now the thalamus will know that it is the signal for, let's suppose, for pen, right? So it will be given to which part? It is signal for memorizing, so it will be given to which part, right? It is signal for listening, so to which part it will be given? So it will be decided by the thalamus. Mean it will direct, the thalamus will receive signal from the sensor, right? Mean from the body part, and it will give it to the place, the target place in the brain. The hypothalamus is the control center of recognition and analysis of hunger, thirst, fatigue, angers, and body temperature, right? Hypothalamus is the other part which is related, or which we call as the control center for recognition, right? Which recognizes different things, right? You feel angry, you feel hunger, right? And like for example, trust. So all of these things, fatigue or body temperature, right? The feeling systems which can be recognized by a part, that part is what? That part is hypothalamus, right? Which is present beside the thalamus and in between brainstem and cerebellum. The hypothalamus also helps to coordinate the nerves and the endocrine system. As hypothalamus is, if you look to the hypothalamus or the thalamus, right? So mostly it's associated both with the endocrine system and with the nervous system, right? In the endocrine system, we have had the same thalamus and hypothalamus is also here. We will also discuss it here because it is associated both, or it can coordinate between nervous system and endocrine system. Now the next major part of the brain, first was cerebrum, and now we have the second, which is the cerebellum, right? So now three parts, mainly we divide brain into three parts: cerebellum, and brainstem, right? So now we studied first cerebrum, right? But how many further parts it was having, right? Five, six parts. We are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So 6 part it is having further in the cerebrum, right? Now we have what the next one we have cerebellum. Cerebellum is the second largest region of the brain, right? In the cerebrum, but not as like the cerebrum, right? If you look at the cerebrum, it is too much, right? Cerebellum is the second largest part of the brain. You can see this is the entire, which you can see this part. This is cerebellum. cerebellum, sorry. The information about muscle and joint position as well as other sensory inputs is sent to the cerebrum, right? Mostly it's associated with what? Associated with the motions of the body, right? The muscles of the body, right? Movement, motions, and muscles of the body, cerebrum. Although the commands to move muscles come from the cerebral cortex, sensory information allow the cerebrum to coordinate and balance the action of these muscles, right? So if there is muscle, right, muscles are involved. Muscle movement is involved, it will be controlled by the cerebrum, right? Although the message will come from here, the message will come from the concerned part. Concerned part means, like for example, if you have the movement of digestive system, right? Digestive system has movement, right? The grinding and chewing process is occurred by what? The digestive system. So it is coming from which part? It is coming from the cerebrum, which field, right? From the field system. What it feel?
So what field system?
No, hypothalamus. Right? Hypothalamus is a part of cerebrum, right? But the movement, right? The movement will be occurred by the cerebrum. The movement of the tissues, the movement of the muscle, that will occur by the cerebrum.
So the message to move the muscle from the cerebrum.
Yes. It will come. It will initiate in the cerebrum. Will come to the cerebrum, right? It will initiate. The main center is where? Main center is the cerebrum, right? Right.
So well, it will be sent from the cerebellum to the cerebrum, yes, to the stem, brainstem,
And then to the part of the body which is responsible for it. When you begin any new activity involving muscle coordination, it is the cerebellum that learn the movement and coordinate the action of individual muscle when the movement is repeated, right? So if you look here, let's suppose if you are going to begin any new movement, right? Any new movement, so that will be learned by what? That will be learned by the cerebellum. They learn the movement and coordinate the action of individual muscle when the movement is repeated, right? So let's suppose if you went to gym, right? So you are doing different exercise. So first time, who will the coach will tell you to do this type of exercise. It's actually what? It's actually the movement of the body, right? So once he tell you, so this will be feet and what? This will be feet in the cerebrum. Then your muscle will move according to that. Now another, let's suppose there is a moment in the time of food digestion, right? So it will be automatic, right? It will be controlled also by the cerebrum, right? Yes. Yes, first time. So it will be controlled by the cerebrum. First time it will be learned. The motion will occur, it will be learned by the cerebrum and then it will be repeated. Now the next part we have, that is brainstem. The first part which is difficult, that which associated most of the function. That is cerebrum. Then we have merai. That is what? That is cerebrum, which is associated with most of the functions. Then we have the cerebellum, which do not have such a lot of functions. And then we have the brainstem. The main function of brainstem is what? Common sense. Use common sense. Use your cerebrum and cerebellum.
You send and take response.
Other?
Listen.
Main function of brainstem. Yusuf, what is the main function of brainstem?
The main function of the brainstem is to maintain your body, the brain.
Where exactly brainstem? In between what?
Between spinal cord and brain.
So we need to connect brain to the spinal cord. That is the main function, right? And let's connect brain to the spinal cord. So we need to connect all bodies to the brain. And we know that brain is what? Brain is the center of nervous system. So if there is no connection, so how it works? So that is the main brain stem. The main function of brain stem, that it connects brain to the spinal cord. The brain stem connects the brain to the spinal cord. The first point, but you not using your mind. The brainstem include three regions, right? Brainstem is made from three regions, right? Further, it is divided into three parts. One is midbrain, then we have pons, and then we have medulla, right? Or medulla oblongata. Each of these regions regulate the flow of information between the brain and the rest of the body. So all these three places, they are the first most important function that it connects brain to the spinal cord, or we can say to the body. Next, then it is divided into three parts, which is midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. Right? These are the three parts. Each part is responsible for regulating the flow of information, right, from different part of the body to the
third function is to
functions such as regulating of blood pressures. Now all the function, right? Because it is the center. It is the center. So all the function of the body, it will go through these three parts, right? Membrane, pons, and medulla oblongata. So function like all the function, any type of function which occur in the body, right? Blood pressure, heart rate, breathing, swallowing are controlled by the brainstem. The brainstems keep the body functioning even when you have lost consciousness due to the sleep or injury, right? Like for example, you are sleeping. At that time, the brainstem will be involved, right? It will send the signal, right, in between the body and in between the brain, right? Like for example, if you are sleeping, so which systems are working? Brain, huh? No, which system of the body are working? Respiratory system, yes. Other?
digestive system.
Digestive system.
We have to inform this.
That is not digestive. Respiratory system. Respiratory system, circulatory system. So if you look to the and respiration, right? Respiration means the body cells are getting energy from the stored food. So that comes in respiration, right? That comes in respiration. So the circulatory system, yes, is working because blood is circulating throughout the body. Circulatory system, the two main functions: circulatory system, cardiac system, respiratory system, they are working consistently. So if you are sleeping and it's working, so mean that it is in function. Brain, spinal cord, and these parts are in working. Expiratory system, it's working, but depends on the external environment mostly. Right? Like for example, if you're sleeping, but the place you're sleeping, the temperature there is high, so it will work at that time, right? Because to remove excess heat from your body, right? In the form of sweat, right? So it can work in that time, not all the time. Okay, so here you have the complete flow. Okay, just listen to me. How much is remaining? Don't talk. Look here. If you look at the nervous system, right? This is the flow chart of nervous system. Look here. What I'm saying? Right.
Sorry.
Okay. Nervous system, the division of nervous system, right? You can see the flow chart. Nervous system is divided into main two types, right? One is central nervous system and other is peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system is made from brain and spinal cord, right? Which we studied in this chapter, right? In this lesson, brain and spinal cord. Next lesson we have about peripheral nervous system, right? Now peripheral nervous system is divided into two further types. One we have autonomic nervous system and other we have somatic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system and somatic nervous system, we have here to study autonomic nervous system. Then autonomic nervous system is what? These are involuntary controls, right? Autonomous, which occur by itself. Autonomous, which occur by itself, right? And another we have somatic, so which is under control, right? Like we are walking, we are talking, we are playing, all these things are under control. Some things which are not under control. So that will occur in autonomous nervous system, right? Like for example, heartbeat. It cannot be controlled, right?
Yes.
Blood flow, it cannot be controlled.
Yes.
Breathing cannot be controlled. So these are what? These are involuntary actions. Can you control breathing? It is.
I mean, but you can breathe fast.
Yeah, it's automatic, right?
لا بس انت نفس الطاير ما تقول انا من نفس السلام
Look, breathing system is not really that you take oxygen and you give oxygen. Breathing systems start from taking oxygen and giving out oxygen. So instead, in between them, how many steps are involved? The exchange of carbon dioxide in the blood. Taking, giving, so it will continue. It is not that it will increase or decrease your length of exhalation.
But somehow we can.
Yes. No, you can just increase or decrease your inhalation and exhalation time. But inside the body, the exhalation which will occur, it will occur.
The heartbeat will be slowly or fast.
Heartbeat, normal heartbeat, we have 72 beats per minute.
Yes, but when I take a little of air, breathing, heartbeat will.
It depends on your body status, right? Like if you are running, so it will be 80. If you are in or other type, it can reach up to even 65, right? Then the autonomous nervous system is divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic, right? And energetic. But this one we not. We will just study sympathetic and parasympathetic if we have. No, we don't have even this. Right? Okay, the last topic which we are going to take. Okay, now listen to me. Stop talking. The last point which we are going to take, addiction and the brain, right? Addiction and the brain. What is addiction?
That they want smoking.
Right? Using drugs. Right? To just sedate your mind. Sedate your mind. Sleep your mind. Simple. That is what addiction and the brain. So mean you are going to sleep, you are going to give rest to your nervous system. So then you are not going to, if you are going to smoke, if you are going to take any medicine which comes in the addiction, so it means that you are going to sleep your brain. So then you cannot think proper because your brain is sleeping, right? Then you cannot think properly, then you cannot learn, then you cannot perform your life activity well. How do drugs change the brain and lead to addiction? What is the mechanism behind it? Addictive drugs act as a dopamine synapses in a number of ways, right? So it can occur in different ways, right? Dopamine or what? Dopamine. Dopamine and drugs. That's amazing. Dopamine. Yes. Addiction in the brain. Okay. Okay. Nearly every addictive substance include illegal drugs. Now, what are the substances which can addict you, right? So, illegal drugs such as heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine. Methamphetamine, these are the chemicals, right? These are chemicals.
That will make the
Right. Cocaine and illegal drugs such as tobacco and alcohol affect brain synapses, right? Synapses, you remember synapses is a process in which the signal from one neuron transfer to the other neurons, if you remember, right? So these drugs are actually doing what? If you are taking any type of drugs, right? Not even this any type of other drugs, but it is sedative. So it will do what? It will affect your synapses. Synapses is the transfer of messages, the transfer of signal from one, what you can say, from one neuron to another neuron, right? Synaptic at the synaptic end. This one, this diagram, if you remember, we studied it. We studied it on page number 900, right? In lesson 1. Although the chemistry of each drug is different. If you look to the drugs, right, we studied here some drugs like heroin is also a drug, methamphetamine, cocaine, tobaccos, alcohol. These are all, it all has different chemical nature, right? It has different chemical combinations. They all produce changes in one particular group of the synapses that use the neurotransmitter dopamine and are associated with the brain's pleasure and reward center. So, sometime, which is the pleasure and reward center of the brain?
What's the layer of both?
The center of pleasure and reward center. The last part of the cerebrum. What was it? No. It was in the brainstem. Sorry, this one. This one, limbic system, right? Last one, limbic system we have. So it will affect which part? It will affect. It will not affect. It will affect just the limbic system in the cerebrum. If you look to most of the functions, it will be controlled by what? It will be controlled by the cerebrum, right? Or further the subparts of the cerebrum. When we engage in an activity that brings us pleasure, neuron in the hypothalamus and in the limbic system release dopamine. So dopamine are a chemical which are released by the brain, right? Dopamine molecules stimulate other neuron across these synapses, producing the sensation of pleasure and feeling of well-being. So let's suppose first time if you are going to take a drug, right? Let's suppose 5 grams you are taking, and it is going to produce 2 dopamine molecules, right? So you will get satisfaction, you will get pleasure, right? But next time, if you are going to take the same, like if you are addicted and you are going to take the same 2 grams or 5 grams of the drugs, right? So it will not give you the same pleasure, right? Then you have to increase it from 2 to 5. Yes, the same, like that. Methamphetamine release blood and dopamine producing an instant high, right? Cocaine keep the dopamine in the synaptic region longer, intensifying pleasure and suppressing pain. So if you look to almost all these drugs, right? So now some drugs, if you look in these drugs, right? Some of them we are using for our own beneficial purposes, right? Like for example, the same drugs, if you look to the other, right? Morphine, like if you take the example of morphine, butanol, these, like isoflurane, fluorine, these. So we are using it for the sake of betterment. Like for example, in the hospital, if someone, he or she is in too much pain. So what we are doing? We are giving such medicine to relieve, yes, to relieve, relaxant, right? Instead of this, we have high relaxant, like for example, we have sedative medicine, which doctors are using in the time of surgeries. So that we can use. Drugs made from opium, like heroin, stimulate receptors elsewhere in the brain that leads to dopamine release. So all these drugs, which are as we are using as a source of addiction, so it will lead to what? It will lead to the release of dopamine. Nicotine and alcohol also cause increase of release of dopamine. Nicotine and alcohol. Nicotine, cigarettes. Cigarettes has nicotine. Black tea has nicotine. So this is what? It is releasing dopamine. Sometimes we are addicted to black teas, right?
Black tea?
Yes, black tea is also happy.
Oh, black tea with tea?
Yes.
If
If you check, so more than the smoke, dopamine, nicotine is there in the tea. Right?
More than the smoke.
Yes.
It's in the tea. Yeah.
Look, smoke affects your lungs. Smoke affects your lungs. While nicotine or tea gets good to your digestive system. So it's go to a refined system. Right? It is being purified. So it will not harm you. But smoke will direct effect on your lungs. I don't know. That is short time, right? That is just short. The brain reacts to the excessive dopamine levels by releasing the number of receptors for the neurotransmitter, right? Like dopamine. As a result, normal activity no longer produces the sensation of pleasure once dead, right? Addiction feel depressed and sick without their drugs. So if you're addicted, so on next time, then you are not going to feel yes. You have just 2-3 minutes. Go. Because there are few receptors. Okay, so that is all about like. And the last point is explained. Let's suppose if you take medicine, right, for the reason of addiction. So once you start it, right, then you cannot leave. Yes. How? Like for example, your brain, your nervous system is dependent on it now, right? Because your brain it cannot work proper now, right? It is dependent on synapses which will occur by dopamine. So how a person starts? How a person starts? How a person starts? Like, if you look to the addict people, right? The addict people, they start how? Like first let's suppose if we talk about smoke, cigarette, right? So just they smoke once a day, right? Once a day, once a week, right? And then later on they are increasing, then 2 and onward, right? So then packets, yes. So in the same case you can reduce it. Like for example, if a person is smoking, there's suppose 10 cigarettes a day.
Oh, okay.
Decrease slightly. It will not harm the person, right? Now in the world, rehabilitation center are there for this reason. Those people who are addicted to smoke to go to any drugs, right? Mostly nowadays people are using drugs, right? Which is too dangerous, right? Which is too dangerous. Like smoke is not dangerous like that. But if you take drugs, it's too dangerous, right? So now how you are going to rehabilitate? Just like for example, the person is taking 100 cigarettes in a week, right? So just bring him to 90 a week, right? For 1 month. And the second one, bring him to 80. So on, 60, 40, 50, and then 1 a day. Like this, and then it will be reduced. So on this method, a lot of research are getting, and many people they have. So that is all about today's lesson. Sorry?